The massive Imperial scout ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, its sleek silver hull reflecting the distant sunlight. Captain Robert Reed of Earth's Deep Space Monitor Station watched the unknown vessel appear on his quantum sensors. His fingers moved swiftly across the holographic controls, initiating Earth's standard first contact protocols. "Unknown vessel detected near Pluto's orbit," he announced, his voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. The station's AI immediately relayed the information to Earth's United Defense Command. Within minutes, Admiral James Walker strode into the Global Defense Center on Earth. The massive underground facility, buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, hummed with activity. Hundreds of officers and analysts worked at their stations, monitoring the situation. "Show me what we're dealing with," Walker ordered. A three-dimensional projection of the alien vessel appeared above the command table. The ship was massive, nearly 3 kilometers long, with visible weapon ports along its hull. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message in multiple frequencies," a communications officer reported. "The universal translator is processing it now." The message came through clear and precise. "Attention planetary system inhabitants. This is the Imperial scout vessel Star Seeker, representing the Grand Galactic Empire. Prepare for inspection and classification." Walker smiled slightly. The Empire clearly expected to find another primitive civilization. They were in for quite a surprise. "Deploy the greeting drones," he commanded. Earth had prepared for this moment for decades. Within seconds, a swarm of small, unmanned vessels emerged from hidden bases across the solar system. They surrounded the Imperial ship at a respectful distance, their presence announcing that this wasn't an unprotected system. The Imperial ship's response was immediate. Their sensors swept the area, trying to understand how they had missed detecting such an advanced defensive network. The Empire's standard protocols never anticipated finding developed technology this far from the galactic core. "They're launching smaller vessels," reported Captain Reed from his monitoring station. 4 shuttles, likely carrying diplomatic personnel." Walker nodded. "Allow them approach. Guide them to the Lunar diplomatic station. No need to show them Earth just yet." The massive diplomatic facility on the far side of the moon had been built specifically for first contact scenarios. Its neutral location would protect Earth's exact defensive capabilities, while demonstrating humanity's technological advancement. As the Imperial shuttles approached, Earth's automated defense grid tracked their every move. Hidden weapons platforms, capable of reducing the visitors to atoms in microseconds, remained powered down but ready. The Imperial delegation landed smoothly in the station's main hangar. The doors closed behind them, and the atmospheric shield activated. Leading the group was Imperial Ambassador Marcus, his tall frame wrapped in ornate robes that sparkled with embedded technology. Walker arrived at the station via quantum teleporter just moments before the Imperial delegation cleared the airlock. He stood waiting in the greeting chamber, flanked by 2 honor guards and Earth's chief diplomat, Dr. Anna Thompson. The look of shock on Ambassador Marcus's face when he saw the advanced facility was precisely what Walker had expected. The ambassador's eyes darted from the quantum computer terminals to the gravity-defying furniture, clearly trying to reconcile what he saw with his Empire's assessment of this region of space. "Welcome to the Sol system," Walker said simply, extending his hand in the universal gesture of peace. "I am Admiral James Walker of the Earth Defense Force." Ambassador Marcus composed himself quickly, though his voice betrayed his surprise. "This is unexpected. Our records indicated this sector was undeveloped. Clearly, those records require updating." "Indeed they do," Dr. Thompson replied with a diplomatic smile. "Perhaps we should discuss why the Empire sends scout ships into independent systems without prior communication." The ambassador's expression tightened slightly. "The Empire claims right of exploration in all unknown sectors. We bring civilization and progress to primitive worlds." Walker interrupted. "Yes, we're quite aware of the Empire's methods. We've been monitoring your communications for some time." This revelation sent visible shock waves through the Imperial delegation. Their careful plans for discovering and uplifting another primitive species had just crumbled before their eyes. As the two groups moved toward the conference room, Walker knew this was just the beginning. The Empire wouldn't easily accept finding a civilization that could challenge their technological supremacy. But humanity had prepared for this moment, and they were ready for whatever came next. The first moves in this cosmic chess game had been made, and Earth had already secured an advantage. The question now was how the Empire would respond to finding themselves in unfamiliar territory, dealing with equals rather than subjects. The morning after first contact, Ambassador Marcus stood before Earth's United Council in their orbital chamber above Geneva. The transparent dome offered a stunning view of Earth below, a deliberate reminder of what humanity was protecting. The ambassador's voice carried across the chamber as he delivered the Empire's message. The Galactic Empire offers Earth the prestigious opportunity to join our civilization, he announced, his tone carefully measured. We bring thousands of years of cultural advancement, technological sharing, and economic prosperity. Council President Thomas Miller leaned forward in his seat. After decades of intercepting Imperial communications, he knew exactly what those pleasant-sounding words meant. The Empire's version of sharing typically meant stripping planets of resources while leaving their populations dependent on Imperial goods. And if we decline this generous offer? Miller asked, though he already knew the answer. The ambassador's smile didn't waver. The Empire does not recognize independent systems within its expansion zones. Integration is mandatory. A quiet murmur spread through the council chamber. On the surface, it sounded like concern. In reality, it was exactly the response they had expected and prepared for. While the ambassador spoke, Dr. Thompson quietly activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air around the chamber. Dozens of worlds the Empire had integrated over the past century. The before and after pictures told a clear story. Pristine planets stripped of resources, native populations relocated to cramped cities, once proud civilizations reduced to factory workers producing goods for Imperial markets. These images, Dr. Thompson said, interrupting the ambassador's practiced speech, were taken by our deep space monitoring drones. Would you care to explain what happened to the Centauri colonies, or perhaps the mining operations on the Rigel worlds? The ambassador's confident expression faltered. You have no authority to spy on Imperial territory. We have every right to protect ourselves, Admiral Walker cut in, stepping forward. Your Empire's pattern is clear. You find developing worlds, offer them protection, then strip them of independence through economic manipulation and military pressure. The ambassador's face darkened. You seem to have significant misconceptions about the Empire's benevolent intentions. Let me be clear, Miller interrupted, standing from his chair. Earth knows exactly what the Empire is. We've spent decades studying your civilization, while you ignored our primitive sector. We know about the slave markets in the Orion Arm. We know about the resource wars you engineered in the Carina sector. And we know about the rebellion you crushed in the Perseus Arm last year. The Imperial delegation shifted uncomfortably. Their carefully crafted image of benevolent leadership was crumbling rapidly. Perhaps, the ambassador said stiffly, we should discuss this privately. There's nothing to discuss, Miller replied. Earth rejects your offer of integration. We will remain independent. The ambassador's diplomatic facade cracked. You don't understand. The Empire doesn't accept rejection. If you resist peaceful integration, other methods will be employed. Admiral Walker stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Let me show you something, Ambassador. He activated another holographic display, this one showing Earth's defensive capabilities. Quantum shields, gravitational weapons, automated defense platforms, technology that matched or exceeded Imperial standards. This is just what we're willing to show you, Walker said quietly. Earth isn't some helpless colony world waiting to be conquered. We've been preparing for this meeting for generations. The ambassador stared at the display, his face pale. This is impossible. Your civilization is too young to have developed. Too young. Dr. Thompson laughed softly. Your empire's tendency to underestimate younger species is precisely why you're in this situation now. While you were busy exploiting easier targets, we were watching, learning, and preparing. Miller raised his hand for silence. Ambassador, you will return to your vessel now. Take this message to your empire. Earth is not interested in integration. We will not be colonized, manipulated, or conquered. Any attempt to force our compliance will be met with immediate and decisive response. As the Imperial delegation was escorted out, Admiral Walker watched them go with a grim smile. He knew this wasn't over. The Empire's pride wouldn't allow them to simply accept rejection from a young civilization. But that was exactly what humanity had planned for. The Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating those they considered beneath them. The real question was how many demonstrations they would need before that lesson sank in. 3 days after rejecting the Empire's ultimatum, Earth's quantum sensors detected a massive energy surge near Mars. 5 Imperial warships materialized in a flash of blue light, their massive forms casting shadows on the red planet's surface. Admiral Walker stood in the Defense Command Center, watching the tactical display with calm interest. The Empire had chosen to bypass Earth's inner defense network by jumping directly into Mars orbit, a predictable move. Right on schedule, he muttered, nodding to his tactical officer. They always followed the same playbook. Status of the Mars defense grid. All systems powered but hidden, sir, Lieutenant Davis reported. The Imperials think they're looking at an empty planet with a few small research bases. The largest Imperial ship, a Dreadnought-class vessel nearly 5 kilometers long, moved into position above Mars's largest colony. Its weapon ports were closed, a show of restraint that fooled no one. They're broadcasting. Sir, Communications Officer Parker announced. Playing it now. The Imperial commander's voice filled the command center. This is Commander Vale of the Imperial Navy. We are establishing a peacekeeping presence in this system. Any interference will be considered an act of war. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Send our response, just like we planned. Deep beneath Mars' surface, hidden quantum generators hummed to life. Energy rippled through carefully placed emitters, creating a web of invisible force around the Imperial ships. The Empire's sensors never detected the buildup. Human technology had long since surpassed their detection capabilities. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Imperial ships tried to power up their weapons. Nothing responded. Their engines flickered and died. Communication systems went dark. One by one, every system on their ships shut down, leaving them floating helplessly in Mars orbit. Only life support and basic internal power remained active. Quantum containment field holding steady, Davis reported. Their ships are completely neutralized. No casualties, no damage, just as you ordered, sir. Walker nodded and opened a channel to the Imperial fleet. His voice was calm, almost casual. Commander Vale, this is Admiral Walker of Earth Defense. Consider this a demonstration. We could have destroyed your ships. Instead, we chose to disable them. Are we understanding each other? Silence filled the channel for several long moments before Vale's response came through, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. This is impossible. Our shields, our weapons, are useless. Walker finished for him. This is your only warning. Leave the Sol system. Do not return. If you attempt any further military action, our response will be considerably less gentle. In the command center, officers watched the tactical display with pride. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, developing technologies specifically designed to counter Imperial weapons and defenses. Sir, Davis called out, we're detecting power fluctuations in their backup systems. They're attempting to restart their engines. Walker shook his head. Let them try. They'll find that nothing works until we allow it. For 6 hours, the Imperial ships hung helpless above Mars. Earth's quantum field prevented any attempt at escape or communication with their fleet. Finally, Walker gave the order to release them. Powering down containment field, Davis announced. Their systems are coming back online. The Imperial ship's engines flared to life. For a moment, they hung in space, as if considering their options. Then, one by one, they turned away from Mars and accelerated toward the system's edge. They're preparing for hyperspace jump, Davis reported, heading directly back to Imperial space. Walker watched them go, knowing this was far from over. The Empire would return. Their pride would demand it. But they would return with doubt in their minds, knowing their technological superiority was a myth. Send word to all Sol system defense posts, he ordered. Full alert status remains in effect. The Empire just learned they aren't the most advanced civilization in this sector. Their next move will be much less subtle. As the Imperial ships vanished into hyperspace, Walker studied the tactical display. Humanity had won the first real confrontation, but the real battle was just beginning. The Empire would return with a full invasion fleet next time. But that, too, was part of the plan. Sometimes, the only way to establish peace was to demonstrate exactly why starting a war would be a terrible idea. Deep within Earth's Quantum Security Center, lead analyst Peter Roberts stared at his holographic display with growing amusement. The Empire's latest attempt to breach Earth's digital defenses was almost embarrassing in its simplicity. They're still using standard encryption protocols, he muttered, watching as Earth's AI security systems effortlessly intercepted and blocked another wave of Imperial probe programs. You'd think after their Mars incident, they'd try something new. The massive underground facility housed humanity's most advanced cyber defense systems. Quantum computers processed data at speeds the Empire couldn't comprehend, while AI guardians monitored every digital frequency for intrusion attempts. "Sir," called out one of his analysts, "we're detecting multiple infiltration attempts from those merchant ships near Jupiter's moons." Roberts nodded. The Imperial spy ships had arrived disguised as independent traders, their true purpose obvious to Earth's sensors. Let them think they're being subtle. Track everything they send. On his screen, he watched as Imperial data packets tried to penetrate Earth's networks. Each attempt was cataloged, analyzed, and turned back against them. Every probe they launched gave Earth's systems more information about Imperial encryption methods. "The Empire still thinks we're working with computer technology similar to theirs," he said to his team. "They haven't realized we moved past traditional computing decades ago." Suddenly, alerts flashed across multiple screens. The Imperial ships had launched their primary attack, attempting to overwhelm Earth's defenses with sheer volume of data. Roberts smiled. "Activate Countermeasure Protocol Alpha. Let's show them what real cyber warfare looks like." Earth's quantum AI systems sprang into action. Instead of merely blocking the Imperial attack, they'd followed the data streams back to their source. Within seconds, they had penetrated the Imperial ship's own networks. "Download everything," Roberts ordered. "Show them exactly what happens when they try to hack a superior system." The Imperial ship's computers never stood a chance. Earth's quantum systems slipped past their defenses as if they didn't exist, copying massive amounts of classified data before the Empire even realized they'd been compromised. "Sir," another analyst called out, "you need to see this. The data we're pulling from their systems, it's not just from these ships. We're getting access to the entire Imperial military network." Roberts leaned forward, his eyes widening as he saw what they'd discovered. The Empire's overconfidence had led them to network their entire fleet using standardized protocols. By breaching these spy ships, Earth had gained a backdoor into every Imperial military system. "They networked everything," he said, shaking his head. "Their entire command and control structure is connected. Fleet movements, defense plans, communication protocols. We're seeing it all." On the main screen, classified Imperial documents scrolled past, invasion plans, fleet positions, weapons specifications. The Empire had been planning a massive attack on the Sol system, but now their entire strategy was exposed. "Sir, the Imperial ships. They're going dark. They've realized what's happening." Roberts nodded. "Too late. We already have everything we need. Prepare a full report for Admiral Walker. The Empire just handed us the tactical advantage we needed." As his team compiled the stolen data, Roberts composed a simple message to be left in the Imperial ship's computers. "Your digital security is as outdated as your expansion policies. Consider this a warning." Hours later, the Imperial spy ships fled the solar system, their commanders no doubt preparing to face serious consequences for this catastrophic security breach. But they'd never know the full extent of their failure. In the Defense Command Center, Admiral Walker reviewed the stolen data with grim satisfaction. "They were planning to hit us with everything they had," he noted. "A full-scale invasion fleet, prepared to make an example of Earth." "Not anymore," Roberts replied. "Now we know every move they plan to make. Every ship position, every attack vector, every contingency plan." Walker studied the tactical projections based on the new intelligence. "The Empire just lost any chance of surprising us, but they don't know that yet." "Should we let them proceed with their invasion plans?" Roberts asked. "Oh yes," Walker smiled. "Let them come. Sometimes the best way to end a war is to let your enemy walk right into a trap of their own making." The Empire's attempted cyber attack had just given Earth everything needed to ensure their coming invasion would be their last. Sometimes the best weapon wasn't a quantum cannon or a gravity bomb. It was simply knowing more than your enemy thought you could. President Miller stood before the Global Assembly in New York, his expression resolute as he prepared to make the announcement that would change humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. Representatives from every nation on Earth filled the historic chamber, along with quantum-projected observers from all Sol system colonies. "Today," he began, his voice carrying across the silent chamber, "Earth takes an unprecedented step. Based on the clear and present danger posed by the Galactic Empire, I am hereby announcing the Sol System Exclusion Order." Behind him, massive displays showed the detailed scans of Imperial fleet movements, hundreds of warships gathering at staging points, all revealed by Earth's successful cyber infiltration of their networks. The entire Sol system, from the Oort cloud inward, is now declared off-limits to all Imperial vessels and personnel. Any violation of this exclusion zone will be met with immediate defensive action. Admiral Walker stepped forward, activating a holographic display of the solar system. Blue lines appeared, marking the boundaries of the exclusion zone. "To enforce this declaration, we are activating the Quantum Barrier Shield Network." At his signal, hidden installations throughout the solar system powered up. Energy rippled across space as thousands of quantum generators synchronized, creating an invisible but impenetrable barrier around the entire system. "This shield," Walker explained, "represents technology far beyond Imperial understanding. It will prevent unauthorized hyperspace jumps into our system, while allowing us to monitor all approaching vessels." In orbit above Earth, massive defensive platforms emerged from their cloaked positions. Each carried weapons that could strike targets across the solar system with pinpoint accuracy. The display of force was deliberately overwhelming. "We are not interested in conquest or expansion," President Miller continued. "Earth desires only peace and independence. But make no mistake, we will defend our freedom with every measure at our disposal." As he spoke, quantum transmitters broadcast the declaration across all known Imperial frequencies. The message was clear: Earth would no longer tolerate Imperial interference. In the assembly chamber, Dr. Thompson stepped forward to present the intelligence findings. "The Empire has systematically stripped resources and freedom from hundreds of worlds. Their pattern is consistent. They target developing civilizations, promise protection and prosperity, then reduce them to vassal states." The displays showed images of conquered worlds, Their once proud civilizations now little more than labor forces for Imperial industry. "This ends here," Miller declared. "The Sol system will not be another conquest. We stand ready to defend not only ourselves but any other civilization seeking freedom from Imperial control." As if to emphasize his words, the quantum barrier shield flared visible for a moment, a shimmering wall of energy encompassing the entire solar system. The sight brought delegates to their feet, applauding the display of human technological achievement. "The Empire will test this barrier," Admiral Walker warned the assembly. "They'll view this as a challenge to their authority. But for the first time in their history, they face a civilization that can match and exceed their capabilities." Reports were already coming in from deep space monitoring stations. Imperial communications had exploded with activity as news of Earth's declaration spread. Some Imperial commanders called for immediate military action, while others urged caution after the Mars incident. "Let them come," Walker said quietly to President Miller as the assembly continued their discussion. "Every defense system is in place. Every contingency is covered. If they force a confrontation, they'll learn exactly why challenging Earth was their greatest mistake." Miller nodded, watching the quantum feeds showing Imperial reactions to their declaration. "How many of their subject worlds are watching this, do you think? How many are seeing, for the first time, that the Empire isn't invincible?" "All of them," Dr. Thompson answered, checking her data feeds. "Our quantum transmitters broke through Imperial communication controls. Every world under their control just witnessed our declaration. The Empire's grip on their territories is about to face its first real challenge." As the assembly session concluded, Earth's leadership knew they had just changed the galaxy's political landscape forever. The Empire's assumption of unchallenged dominance had been shattered. The question now was how they would respond to this unprecedented defiance. But whatever came next, Earth was ready. The line had been drawn in space itself, and humanity would not back down. 3 weeks after Earth's declaration, the Empire made its move. Over 2,000 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, the largest invasion fleet ever assembled in Imperial history. In Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Walker watched calmly as red dots appeared on the tactical display. "Right on schedule," he noted, "and exactly where our intelligence said they'd arrive." The Imperial fleet formed a massive battle line, their ships spreading out in textbook invasion formation. At their center, the Empire's newest super-dreadnought, nearly 10 kilometers long, powered up its main weapons. "They're broadcasting, sir," Lieutenant Davis reported, playing on main speakers. "This is Grand Admiral Vale of the Imperial Armada." The familiar voice boomed. "Your defiance ends today. Surrender and submit to Imperial authority, or face annihilation." Walker pressed his communication panel. "This is Earth Defense. We were wondering when you'd show up. Your invasion fleet is impressive. Would you like to see ours?" At his signal, thousands of automated defense platforms decloaked throughout the solar system. Each was armed with weapons specifically designed to counter Imperial technology, positioned during the weeks of preparation. "First wave," Walker commanded. "Begin spatial distortion attack." Quantum generators activated across the defense network. Space itself began to twist and warp around the Imperial fleet. Their neat formation broke apart as ships struggled against gravitational forces they couldn't understand. "Their shields are failing," Davis reported. "They can't compensate for the spatial distortions." The Imperial fleet's response was predictable. They opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the defense platforms. But Earth had prepared for this too. "Activate deflection fields," Walker ordered. The incoming fire hit invisible barriers and curved away, some even turning back toward the Imperial ships. The Empire's most powerful weapons proved useless against Earth's defensive technology. "Second wave," Walker commanded. "Show them our offensive capabilities." The defense platforms powered up their main weapons, but instead of destroying the Imperial ships, precisely targeted beams disabled their engines and weapon systems. Ship after ship went dark, trapped in Earth's gravitational web. "Sir," Davis called out, "they're attempting to retreat. The remaining ships are trying to jump to hyperspace." Walker nodded. "Let them. Disengage spatial distortions in Sector 7. Give them an escape route." About a third of the Imperial fleet managed to flee, leaving behind hundreds of disabled ships and their crews. The message was clear. Earth could have destroyed them all, but chose not to. "Open a channel to Admiral Vale," Walker ordered. The Imperial commander's face appeared on screen, his previous arrogance replaced with barely controlled fury and fear. "Now you understand," Walker said simply. "We could have annihilated your entire fleet. Instead, we disabled your ships and spared your crews. Are you ready to discuss terms?" Vale's response was immediate. "This is impossible. No civilization could develop such technology so quickly." "Your empire's greatest weakness," Walker interrupted, "is assuming younger civilizations must be inferior. That mistake ends today." As rescue ships approached the disabled Imperial vessels, Walker continued, "Your crews will be treated well and returned to Imperial space. Their ships, however, will remain here as a reminder of what happens when the Empire attempts to conquer those who wish to remain free." The battle, if it could even be called that, was over in less than an hour. Earth had faced the Empire's greatest fleet and defeated it without losing a single defense platform or taking a single casualty. In the aftermath, Walker received reports from across the solar system. The quantum barrier shield had performed perfectly. The automated defense network had executed its programming flawlessly. Earth's first major military confrontation with the Empire had demonstrated exactly why the Sol system exclusion order should be taken seriously. "Send word to all colonies and outposts," Walker ordered. "The immediate threat is neutralized, but remain at full alert status. The Empire just learned they're not the most powerful force in this sector of space. Their response to that revelation will determine what happens next." As cleanup operations began, Walker knew this wasn't the end. But it was perhaps the beginning of something new, a future where the Empire would have to accept that they weren't the undisputed masters of the galaxy anymore. 6 months after the failed Imperial invasion, Earth's United Council gathered once again. This time, they weren't alone. Representatives from 30 different civilizations sat in the chamber, many of them former Imperial subjects who had seized their chance at independence. President Miller addressed the assembled delegates, his voice carrying across the historic gathering. "The galaxy is changing. The Empire's defeat at Earth marked the end of their unchallenged dominance. Today, we forge a new path forward." On the massive screens behind him, live feeds showed the transformation taking place across the galaxy. Imperial forces withdrawing from dozens of worlds, their grip on power finally broken by their defeat at Earth. The Empire's ruling council has formally acknowledged Earth's sovereign status, Dr. Thompson announced, displaying the official Imperial Declaration. More importantly, they've recognized the Sol system exclusion zone. For the first time in their history, they've accepted limits to their expansion. Admiral Walker stepped forward, activating a holographic map of known space. But this isn't just about Earth's victory. In the past 6 months, 17 worlds have declared their independence from the Empire. Our defense technology has been shared with those who wish to protect their freedom. The map showed these newly free worlds, each protected by their own quantum barrier shields, gifts from Earth to ensure they would never again face Imperial domination. The Empire tried one final attempt at retaliation. Walker continued. They threatened economic sanctions against any world that traded with Earth. Their response. He gestured to the assembled delegates. These representatives are here to establish new trade routes and alliances, free from Imperial control. The chamber erupted in applause as Miller announced the formation of the Free Worlds Alliance, a cooperative organization dedicated to mutual defense and peaceful trade. Earth would serve not as its ruler, but as its protector and technological advisor. "We have no desire to replace the Empire as galactic rulers," Miller declared. "Instead, we offer partnership. Any civilization that wishes to remain free and independent will find an ally in Earth. Reports flowed in from across the galaxy. Imperial ships now gave Earth's solar system a wide berth. The quantum barrier shield had never been breached. The automated defense platforms stood ready, a constant reminder of humanity's resolve. In a private chamber after the main assembly, Miller met with Admiral Walker and Dr. Thompson to discuss the latest intelligence. The Empire is adapting to the new reality better than expected, Thompson reported. They're focusing on maintaining control of their loyal worlds rather than trying to reclaim those that broke away. Walker nodded. They've learned that their technological advantage is gone. Our defensive capabilities have completely changed their strategic calculations. And the other civilizations? Miller asked. The ones still under Imperial control. Watching and waiting, Thompson replied. Every successful declaration of independence encourages others. The Empire's power is diminishing naturally, without us having to fire another shot. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message. Another world, a distant colony in the Carina sector, had just activated its quantum shield and declared independence. The Empire's response was telling. Their ships withdrew without a fight. This is how it ends, Miller said quietly. Not with a massive war, but with the steady spread of freedom. One world at a time, the galaxy is finding its balance. Walker studied the updated star charts. The Empire still controls significant territory. They're still powerful, but they're no longer uncontested. That was always our goal, Thompson reminded them. Not to destroy the Empire, but to break its monopoly on power. To give others the choice we claimed for ourselves. As the day's sessions concluded, delegates from newly free worlds approached Earth's leaders with gratitude and respect. They had seen what one determined civilization could accomplish against overwhelming odds. Earth had not only protected its own freedom, but had become a beacon of hope for others. The galaxy was entering a new era. The Empire remained a significant power, but no longer an unchallenged one. Earth and its allies stood ready to maintain this new balance, ensuring that no civilization would ever again claim absolute dominion over the stars. As Miller watched the delegates depart for their home worlds, he smiled. Humanity's defiance had changed the galaxy forever, proving that even the mightiest empire could be forced to respect the rights of others, especially when they were told entry forbidden.